Folks, glad to be here with you again for another great Fumes for Friday session. And I'm going to turn it over to Asimina.
How are you?
Away we go.
I am Asimina Mobley of the Tampa Bay Area Writing Project, and very happy to see some familiar faces and some new faces as well. I am a teacher at Eastlake High School in Pinellas County, and where I teach advanced placement, language, and composition, which I've been teaching for over a decade. That's going to be my answer for life now. And then I also am an adjunct for St. Pete College and teach composition classes for them. So, and I appreciate this community where I can keep in touch and continue to write and grow, which is so important. So I'll go ahead and get started. I'm trying to see where I share. Because, oh, there it is, where it says share screen. That makes sense. We use Teams at my school, so it's a little different. There we go. And now I have to do the obligatory question. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So the title of this is The Art of the DRA, Connecting to the Words of Others. Some years ago, when I would say about 2 or 3 years into teaching, into teaching AP language, I felt like I needed some way to have daily writing for my students that would still support the type of writing that they needed to do for college. So that would exclude creative writing and all of that fun stuff that I really liked, not completely exclude it, but I needed it also to be grounded in argument, and things like that. So I put together something of my own. And when I was thinking about what to present for the lesson today, I wanted to do something wholly original. And I remembered my friend and many of yours, Betty Hirschhauser, who served as a real mentor of mine, both as a teacher, as a mother, as a wife, everything, because I was really young at the time when I first met her, probably in my early 20s. And she told me this was something that I should publish. And, life gets busy. I've never gotten around to do anything like that, but I felt like this was the opportunity to share it with others. It's been confined to just my students, and they always come back and tell me that they really enjoyed the fact that they did these lessons. It's helped them in their writing. And I appreciate the opportunity that Dr. Sherry gave me to share this with you. So I know you're wondering, well, what the heck is a DRA? So I'll just go. All right. So here we go. Okay. So in my classroom, if any of you teach AP language specifically, there is a type of question called an argument question, in which they're presented with some type of concept. It doesn't have to be a quote. And they have to really think about how they feel about it. And I feel that sometimes until a class like this in high school, kids aren't given as much of an opportunity to react to the words of others, maybe to short stories, maybe to do their own endings to a story, but really to try to understand the concepts of another human being. And we see so much trouble, like you were mentioning the FSA earlier, reading comprehension is huge. It's so important, not only to get into the college that you want to get into or pass a test, but to function, right? In the world, reading comprehension is paramount. So I want to give you a minute to look at the following quotes and let me know if any of these are ones that you have heard before. All right, so what is one, if I could ask, which one stuck out to you right away as one that you have heard before? Yes, number 3, John Lennon. You know what? That's fitting. Yes, I could see that. Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. Number 4 for you, Courtney, Aristotle. Definitely, I can see that. Okay. So the interesting thing is these are all 4 quotes that I've used in my classroom, and my students have never seen these quotes before. They're brand new to them. And those are the kids that you would consider to be the cream of the crop, top of the line, you know, but they have not been exposed to these quotes. And I don't think I was either in high school. You know, most of these were said before me, some of them too, especially Aristotle, I would say. Yeah, that one. All right, so let's say. So what do these quotes have in common? Well, let's think about common emotions that they have or common topics that they think about. What do you think? When I was looking at them, I was looking at the John Lennon quote and the second quote over there, also the Walt Disney quote. And both of those really seem to be about planning your life and doing rather than just thinking, right? So we'll find that many famous quotes have a lot more in common than different. Okay, so a DRA, to get into it now, is a way for students to connect with ideas about life and to have the freedom to interact with the text daily. I always tell my students that writing is like going to the gym, something I don't know as much about, but it's definitely like working out a muscle, and that the more they write, the better they will become at writing and reading. Okay, so what is that first D for? I wonder if some of you were trying to figure out. D is for decipher. Did anyone guess that? Maybe not. Okay, so I have the whole cryptology thing at the bottom there. I don't know, I got into that when the Dan Brown started. Read the quote a few times is what I tell my students, and then use your own language to interpret the quote itself. I work with a lot of SAT passages and ACT passages. I know Courtney knows what I mean about that. You know, it's important to be able to restate what we are reading in our internal voice, in our own language, because that's the language that speaks to us. Okay, well, what do I mean by that? Well, let's use this quote as an exercise. Raise your hand if you have seen this quote before by Robert Louis Stevenson. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. Okay. Why do you think I picked this one for a group of teachers? Any guesses? Yeah.
Too many days without seeing any reaping.
Yes. I feel this is one that we all need to hold on to, especially in these days of 2020, 2021. Right? We have to really focus on those seeds a little more than the harvest sometimes, especially when the harvest may be on the other side of the screen, you know, behind a dot, right? Okay, so before I go there, think to yourself, and we'll have some time to write in a little bit. If you want to write down, actually, that would be a good idea too. How would you interpret this in your own words? So this would just be a sentence or two, something quick. I'll give you a minute. In your internal language, how would you speak this back? I'll give you a minute. Oh, I need to hydrate. They call me with the shot. Okay, now normally in my classroom, I would go first and I would interpret something. But with this panel of seasoned veterans here, I'll turn the floor over to you whenever someone is ready to tell me how you would decipher this. Any takers?
Yeah, I had put mine in the chat. I can say mine.
Oh,
like.
You know what? I'm so sorry. One moment.
That's all right.
Let me open up the chat. Here we go. Okay, nice. Okay, I'm gonna put that over in the corner. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm catching up here. Nice. Oh, thank you for all your comments there. All right, so John says, because when teachers talk about harvesting, things seem a little different. That's true. The quality of an endeavor is in the beginning, having the hope and courage and foolishness to start something. I really like that a lot. Very true. Okay. Striving, taking action, rising, doing, busy, focus. Very nice. Okay, so this would be great. You would be a student. Good job. So let's see what Ellie, actual student in my class, said. So I took this, can you tell? This is straight out of her journal. I asked her permission. Okay, so she says, I think that this quote is basically saying that you shouldn't look at every day by only what you have accomplished, but what you will accomplish in the future. I like that. It was very good. Even if everything wasn't spelled correctly, I would love it, but I love that she spelled accomplished correctly twice. The teacher and me, but I like that. She said it in her own basic language, you know, what it means to her. You know, John, of course, yours was more eloquent. You know, you have a little more practice with this. Both of them were awesome. Okay. Courtney. All right, so let's move on to R. Are we ready for R? I have to keep this chat open. Oh, Samantha, look at that. So Madi said, decide on your day's success based on the things you did to make an investment in a student, but not on whether, yeah, that is so true. Yeah. And then you may not see the beauty every day, but it's the thought of knowing that something beautiful will come in its own time. That's beautiful. Okay, thank you for those. Very nice. I also think before we go on to reading the reflect, that I want to take the fear away from my students. If I could just say that for a moment, you know, and talk about that part of it. I want to take the fear away of them getting something wrong. I feel by this being put in a journal, it's not a test, it's not an assignment that's getting turned in that moment. And they have the opportunity to explain what they mean. You know, and that's how I start class. When they come in, there's a journal on the board. They start asking for it. If it's not up there, they're like, what's going on? Are we having a test? Like, why is there not a journal? You know, they want to do it. So R is for reflect. So now that you have deciphered, it's time to really reflect on its meaning. Okay, oh, that autocorrect there. I'll fix that. So hold on. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, what is the author really trying to get us to think about? All right, so that's important there. And the kids say, wait a second. I get to, this is a famous person. You gave me a quote by Gandhi, or you gave me a quote by Martin Luther King. I'm able to say, I disagree with this quote. And I say, yeah, because you all know what's coming next, right? They have to prove it. But I say they can disagree if they want to, they can agree, they can, you know, they can be in the middle somehow and qualify, that's fine. All right. It's totally up to them. So they need to just reflect on it. So this is the part where they're looking at the quote, they've already deciphered it, and they tell me if they are on board with it. You know, if they agree with that quote, if they can see what the author is talking about. Okay. So I think I'm talking to a stacked audience here, but do most of us agree with this quote, or does anyone have a different way of looking at it and say, I don't know, forget those seeds, I want to see some harvest? All right, so most of us would definitely agree. I think that's a given for sure. But I really want to reiterate, I don't expect my students to agree with everything I put on the board. I think it's important that we do not create a society of people who agree with something just because of the ethos of the writer. You have to think for yourself, okay? And I encourage them to do so. So let's see what Ellie said. I know you were wondering. You don't have to wonder any longer. Yeah, it is. That's true. He makes it seem easier than it. Yeah, the quotes always makes things seem easier than they actually are. So she says, not every day is a good day. If we judge each day as good or bad only through what we've gotten done during the day, we can miss out on noticing and taking pride in what steps we have taken to accomplish. more in the future. So it sounds like Ellie definitely agrees with this. You know, I don't know how many of you teach high school, but even in younger grades, just because they're kids doesn't mean that they have good days every day. They have a lot of bad days. And so it looks like she's reflecting on that as well. Okay. All right. Trying to move this. I'm so sorry for this. Okay, so the A, this is my favorite part here. A is for apply. Okay, so this is the part that really helps my students increase their reading comprehension skills. I see, you know, I tell them to just trust the process. I reference Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, of course, many times during my lesson, in that it may seem like small repetitive steps that we're doing, but one day they're going to put it all together, you know, in a tournament or something, but there's going to come a time that it is going to really help them. So to use another quote to explain this, you can only understand people if you feel them in yourself. That's a John Steinbeck quote. I don't know if there's any Steinbeck fans out there. And then I was, yay. You know, I took the liberty of, hope it's okay, to add, you can only understand people and passages if you feel them in yourself. We really can't understand a piece of writing or a book unless, like, fully understand, unless we can get inside of it somehow. Okay. So what experiences help you relate to the Stevenson quote? So tell me, you know, I knew that you all would relate to it. I felt that that was a given, but tell me, what have you experienced in your life, whether in or out the classroom, that you would apply to what Stevenson is saying? I have my chat ready. So take a moment to reflect yourself. Motherhood, parent, yes, I totally feel that. We see so many posts online all the time about enjoy these moments, enjoy them when they're little, but sometimes it's hard.
Well, and I think that even on the hard days when you're struggling with discipline and making the hard choices as a parent, you're not going to be reaping those days.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't think about that, Maddie, with discipline. You're right. You know, it's not always just trying to teach someone something. Sometimes it's the hard things like disciplining. And inside, you know you're doing it for the right reason, but it hurts. I had to punish my daughter the other day, making her go in her room, and she was wearing her ballerina outfit. I felt like a horrible person. She's 6 and wearing tights, and I made her go to her room, but it was for the best. Yeah. Oh, beginning a new job. Wow. Supervising teacher candidates. Starting a business, all of these things. Oh, especially starting a business. What type of business, Samantha, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, okay. Yeah. I can definitely see that. That's a lot of work. And relationships as well. Good. So what I want you to do is notice in the chat so many vastly different answers that I got. You know, inside I was expecting, oh, they would be classroom connections. You know, we're all somehow, you know, connected to education. But no. Here we have everything from relationships, adult relationships, to jobs, to discipline, everything. And that, just imagine what you see across 150 students. And grading is never really fun, but it makes it a lot easier when I'm reading answers that are so different, you know, and so tailored to the student themselves. Okay. So let's go. I'm being mindful of the time as well. Okay, hold Okay, so Ellie, I know you guys are wondering what Ellie applied it to, and honestly, Ellie actually wrote about some things that she's gone through in her family that she had asked me to keep private. I always let the kids say in their journal, if there's something that you don't want me to share, let me know. And so I didn't, but I want to show you this one to show you the versatility of this lesson here. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is a full DRA here, okay? And let me take that. Okay, so this is from a student named William. I typed it so that it would be easier to read. And the soul is stronger than its surroundings is the quote by William James. Okay, this one might not be as well known. So I'm going to give you a moment to read that. I think I can move this up. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, guys. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Okay, did everyone have a chance to read it? I'm a fast reader, so I always do badly with this part. Yes. Oh my goodness, Courtney, you got it. That's why I shared this one. Yes, that is exactly why I shared this one. I have actual goosebumps. Thank you for seeing that. I would never discuss faith in the classroom. You know, I discuss illusions, of course, because in the writing, you know, they have everything from Job, you know, to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and different quotes and everything like that. But this Bible reference, I wouldn't. But in a journal, William can choose to write about his faith in a safe space or not to. It gives him that room to do so. What else struck you about his comments about his DRA here? This is the complete DRA for him. What else did you notice about his writing? Oh my gosh, I keep going. You know what it is? I have a touch screen for the first time.
I think that it's really smart to ask them to paraphrase the quote, because that's a step that to interpreting evidence that we often leave out, but it's very compelling for readers to get this kind of immediately following that, to get this sort of gloss or like rehearsal of the evidence. Like this is I'm saying this again, and then I'm going to tell you now what it means in relation to whatever argument I'm making. And so they're practicing that here, and I think that's such a that's one of those moves that I think people read and they say, this is a sophisticated writer, because you don't find that very often. So it's a really smart way to kind of build that in.
That's true. And I have watched, this is a recent journal entry, and I've watched William grow as a writer over the year, and I've watched him really find his voice. I've watched his reading comprehension, you know, his multiple choice grade go up without me having to, you know, beat it into them, because we've been just interpreting things all year, you know, and that's happened organically. Yeah, and I just really, I enjoy reading these. I enjoy reading them.
Are they primarily 11th graders, Asimina?
Yes, a 10th and 11th.
Yeah, because I think what's great about this is that, you know, they've been trained to do sort of a quote dump for FSA purposes, right?
They have, yes.
And it's such a horrifying thing when they don't feel like they're allowed to use their understanding of something, but that they feel they have to stick it on those quotes. So it's also smart because of a couple of other things. So first of all, it's moving away from that quote dump, which is beautiful, but then we see him cite without quoting, right? So he cites, he comments, and he connects, right? So that's, you know, when you think about CCC,
Mhm.
And that connection is what makes it really powerful.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't work without the connection. I tell them that, like in the first few journals, because they shy away from making the connection, because you're right. They're told, keep that out, keep that outside information out, you know. I have to really be on top of it. And if you choose to ever do this in your classrooms, really read the first few carefully so you can give back good feedback, and not like you were wrong, you were right, but just encouraging them, hey, why don't you make some more applications, some more connections, you know, even do some yourself so that they can feel safe with doing that. And I tell them that when they're reading passages, they can do this in their head instantaneously. And that's how they will truly understand what the speaker is saying, even if it's from the 1800s. You know, people do not change. Their emotions do not change. Only the language changes, but emotions stay the same.
When you do this, do you have them, do they have a writer's notebook, or do you have them turn it in on paper? What do you do?
Okay, that's a great question, Courtney. One of their materials that they're asked to have is a composition notebook. Whatever color they would like, but it needs to be that composition notebook because I feel that that size is perfect. And so all the journals and only the journals go in that composition notebook. And every so often I collect them and read through them and give them some feedback. Yeah, and they just bring that with them daily to class every day. They have writing on the board, you know, so I put the quote on the board, and it works well too with online teaching because I type the quote in the chat and I have it for them when they sign on. The quote is there, and then I just cut and paste it to the other periods. I use the same quote for the other periods as well. If there's something going on in the world, like when we have the anniversary of 9/11, instead of writing like a separate piece about 9/11, I pick a quote that I feel if they want to write about their feelings, they can. Or even when, you know, for a lot of us, when we came back to school after the Black Lives Matter protests, you know, our principal sent an email to not discuss what was happening with our students, that we were not allowed to do so. So I was able to pick a quote that was like so old. It was like maybe 100 years old, this quote, but I knew that it would give the opportunity for students to connect with what was happening in that moment. And a lot of students did take that opportunity to do so. So just like William here was able to talk about his faith, many students were able to talk about it, and I was able to interact in their notebook to their feelings. Yeah. Okay, so
That's great.
oh, I see some stuff in the chat here. Let me see if there's anything anyone asked. Oh, okay, thank you, Marta. All right, so this is the last part here. Oops. Oh my goodness, what did I do? Oh, I just made the chat big, that's all. All right, so choose a quote for your own DRA. So I brought back the quotes from the beginning. And so pick one that you would like to write about. I will give you some time to write, and we'll have a little sharing, and that's how we'll end our time together. So choose a quote, do your own deciphering, reflecting, and applying. And I'll leave this up right here so you all can see it. Okay. Any questions for me?
How long should we write? When do you want us to come back?
I was thinking like, let me see what time is it right now? Maybe about, you think 5 minutes would be enough?
We have a little longer.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I don't want to take your time. So like maybe 8 minutes? 8 to 10, or is 10 too much?
I could use 10.
10.
Okay. Okay, let's do 10. Yay, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to say.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So 10 minutes. Feel free to get off screen as you write if you would like to. And I'll be back with you at 9:11. Okay, we're gonna write for about another minute or two. All right, and just pop back on whenever you're ready. So in case anyone is still finishing up writing, I'll go ahead and share. I like to share with my students as well. Sometimes after we've gotten to know each other a little bit. I chose to quote the first one: "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." So I'll share what I wrote here. What this quote means to me is a reminder that sometimes things will not always be as easy as I expected them to be, or as easy as everyone else thinks it should be for me. I definitely agree with Mr. Mandela, even though I feel that any connection that I have to it pales in comparison to whatever Mr. Mandela must have been referring to in his own life. However, my experience goes this way. The first time I saw this quote, it was outside of the college classroom of my college algebra class, my freshman year, which was one of the hardest classes I will ever take. Being a purely English and history person, this class was my Achilles heel. And I was not used to having so much trouble in school. Every day I would enter this room, but before I did, I would look at the quote on the wall outside. And sometimes I feel that it's the only thing that kept me going, knowing that even if I failed, I could come back, hopefully stronger, and rise again. So yeah, thank you. It was rough. That was the first time I had a school issue. It took me by surprise, but this kept me going. All right, so I would love to hear something from one of you.
Okay, ready? Okay, here we go. I chose the last one. "It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light." Okay, I made this too small and I'm old now. Okay, hold on.
You look the same, Adi.
Aristotle heartens us to do our best to be positive and see hope when life gets difficult. This is something I think most people agree with. It's why we embroider towels that say "Count your blessings," and we've been taught to look for silver linings. In one way or another, we've been given this advice many times before. What makes Aristotle's instruction different is the word focus. Focus requires us to make choices. I will lower the radio, put my phone down, turn off the TV, all because I have to focus. Choosing to see the light that exists in the dark tunnels of despair this life often drags us through is also a choice. In the middle of a pandemic, I will focus to see the light of family time regained. In the darkness of death, I will squint through tears to live out the beauty of the lessons taught to me by those I have loved and lost. In the abyss of testing season, when I can't see whether any of my effort has made a damn bit of difference, I will focus on those children who will pass, and even those who might fail, who will have failed better because I invested all I had in them. This is the light I will focus on.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love the real world connections that you made to current times as well. Thank you. Anyone else?
I've learned that it's impossible to follow Madi, but I have to. I have to because I chose the same quote, and I'm going to drop mine in the chat here and then read it to you. So, okay. It's during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. In this quote, I took a page from William here, so I tried out some of his moves. In this quote, Aristotle suggests that in challenging times, it is more difficult to find the good in ourselves and other people and in the way forward. I respectfully disagree. Several years ago, I had the worst car accident of my life. Though no one was hurt, it was a dark moment. The car was totaled, and I struggled to make it through each day without crying. Yet during those days, I was so aware and so grateful for the kindness of others, the presence of my family, and familiar comforts of home and of nature. Unlike Aristotle, I find that darkness makes the light easier to see. Rather, it is in the happy, easy moments that I get caught up in my day-to-day business and forget to be grateful and focus on what's important.
I love that. Thank you.
I thought I would try out what it would be like to do this and disagree with the quote, just to see how that would go.
I appreciate that. It's liberating, isn't it, to disagree with Aristotle?
I did the same thing. I also did some disagreement.
Yes, I love it.
Not with Aristotle, though. I wasn't that bold.
With whom? You have to work your way up to that sometimes.
Even with Walt Disney, I had to agree with him before I could disagree with him.
Yeah.
I can share, but you'll have to put up with some cuss words.
That's fine. It's late. That's okay.
Here we
TBAWP
go.
after hours.
There we go. Courtney was asking me what was in my cup. I had to be like, it's just tea. Leave me alone.
It's that Earl Grey.
That's right. All right. So this is the way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. I said, Walt has a totally valid point here. Plenty of people only plan, whether it's because they are dreamers who lack the courage or means to go and do, or because they have no actual intention of ever doing. Here, of course, I am thinking of the endless environmental initiatives from corporations blasted out in press releases saying shit like, we'll stop using all plastic by 2025. But really, they put one out a few years ago that said they'd be done by now. So yes, they ought to listen to Mickey Mouse's dad and start fucking doing something. As a very flawed, often headlong doer of things, I angrily and loudly proclaim often, just fucking do it already. That being said, Daddy Disney isn't the final and flawless font of all wisdom. Sometimes it takes a lot of talking to get doing. Sometimes talking is the doing. Sometimes it takes the courage and support of others talking about it the whole way to make the thing happen. Today, in my little group of writers who want to be writers, someone asked, will you all please kick me in the butt to make me revise? For them, they need the talking. They need the group around them to cheer them from the sidelines, to validate their struggles, and to be the company they need on their journey. Because really, my little group of writers who want to be writers is just a bunch of writers who need to be reminded that they are not wannabes.
Excellent. Very good.
I think that Red from Shawshank said it better than Disney did, though. He said, get busy living or get busy dying.
Very true. Yep. One of the greatest movies. Very true. Okay. Does anyone else want to share? You guys are doing excellent with this.
I'll share. I chose the John Lennon quote.
Yes.
So I put, John Lennon is saying that we need to slow down and realize life is happening right before our eyes. I believe John Lennon has truly reminded us how to focus our cameras. It's basically my thing here, and agree with, and I agree with him. To me, life is like a camera, zooming in and out with various options of viewing moments. With the chaos of life, working, running children to gymnastics and baseball, making time for my husband and myself, I find that years have passed and my camera view of life has become blurry. When did my 5-year-old daughter grow into a 13-year-old? And my toddler son is almost a middle schooler. I feel their youth blinded me with the flash of a camera before my eyes. I was so busy with my view being in widescreen on family, work, money, the list goes on. I've recently realized that instead of having my camera unfocused, I want to zoom in and focus on the little things, the things I want to remember when I'm older. Memories, laughter, holding hands, and loving kisses. My wonderful life that's happening right before my eyes.
Thank you. Yes. And what I really liked about this is that some of us completely agreed, some of us disagreed or qualified, but all of us felt that there was something valid to be talked about as far as the topic itself. I'm gonna go into the chat here. Yeah, that's true. Great.
Busy ribbing, Courtney. But I love the way you took up the focus in that, Sam.
Just the lens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And zooming, I think, was a really good kind of addition to that.
No, I agree. So, you know, this little idea that started a long time ago when I just wanted to get my students to write and feel safe and learn what other people of the world have said and write themselves has really grown into something. And it's something that I feel really does contribute to my success as a teacher. And it's something that when I see kids years later, they talk about, you know, that they remember doing. Go to the next slide here. Okay, we did share. That was my screen for sharing. Okay, I'm going the wrong way. I will never use this laptop again for this stuff. There we go. Okay, should have just gone old school. It would have been easier. The old school laptop. All right, so I'm ending with a quote that says, "Good company and good discourse are the very sinews of virtue." Because it is definitely what I expected this to be, and you have by far exceeded my expectations. So I really appreciate you spending this time with me and giving me a very wonderful version of this lesson. And hopefully I can share some of your writing with my students, if that would be okay. I think John's I may save for later, but but at least the concepts. We'll save that for the comp kids, maybe. They're college students.
Can I ask a logistical question?
Yes, go ahead, please. Whatever questions you have now, I'm done.
If this is like your daily bell work,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they have this notebook and they're using the notebook, like, are you reading all of them? Are you asking them to highlight which ones they want you to read? Like, how are you managing the paper load, and how could we sell it to teachers so that they would make this part of their practice without feeling like it was going to be something super overwhelming?
Yeah, I think it's a really personal choice. When people ask me this question about this or essays, the one thing that I'm really good at in life is reading very quickly. So for me, I just have taken it upon myself that if they're taking the time to write about it, I'm taking the time to read it. I wait a few weeks before I collect the notebooks. You know, the first time I only let them do about 5 before I connect it, just to make sure that they're understanding the process. And a lot of times they want to separate the D, the R, and the A. And I'm like, no, it needs to be all one writing. You can mix up the R and the A, the order, it's cool. And just letting them, you know, so I can get my eyes on it and make sure that they are, you know, following the like the whole plan. After that, I'll wait a little longer and do maybe 15, you know, at a time. So I take them, I hold them for a few days, and I read through them, and I'm pretty quick with it. I think selling it to teachers would be probably with length for my students. It needs to be at least a side of a journal page, like a 1-side journal page. The one that William had written was actually what I had done for that assignment is, you know how we have those testing days and a lot of the administration wants us to have some kind of assignment for the kids when they're not in class. Mm-hmm. So I had them choose their own quote and do like a mini DRA on their own quote. And that was their assignment for the day. Mm-hmm. So
that's smart.
His was a little bit shorter, and I got this whole wealth of new quotes that I could choose from also for the future. It was really great, you know, and they researched them themselves. So maybe just having it a shorter expectation from the students.
Got it.
You know, because as much as I love the energy of this lesson and the meaning and all of that, I also am really logistical and very competitive, and I want my students to be badass writers. And that means like having them write a lot and learn how to write quickly. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the other side to this, the not so sweet side where I'm trying to get them to get those ideas out quickly out of their brains. So it's up to, you know, your classrooms. I would tell teachers, you know, your classes and you know what they're capable of and what you would like them to be capable of. So they could adjust the parameters. Maybe keep the DRA part, but maybe adjust how much they expect back from the students or how often they would want to use them.
Right.
But I do think, I will say this, and I'll go on record saying this, if you really want something real back from your students, they need to know that you are reading the words. They know which teachers read their stuff and which teachers don't. They know it. And it makes a difference.
100%. Thanks, man.
Thank you. I love it. Thanks for having me.
Miss you.
I miss you too, for real. Marty and I go so way back. It's not even funny.
I'm happy to have finally met you. I've been hearing about you for years from Madi.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Same here.
The
Same here,
legend.
definitely. Yeah, you know, yeah, kids, family. Yeah, don't get us together in a car, in a room, anywhere. But yeah, happy to have met you as well. So now my kids are getting a little older. I'm starting to come back into the fold a little bit more. So.
Well, I'm so glad you brought us this lesson tonight, and I want to echo Betty and say I think you should. I'm really glad you're getting this out there. I think you should publish it, and I think that we've heard a lot of really wonderful ideas at Fumes for Friday, and that should be getting a wider circulation. And I hope that maybe we can continue to kind of take it to the next level. So if there's anybody here tonight that hasn't done a lesson and would like to, please get in touch. And thank you so much for being here and for sharing your wisdom and sharing your writing. Woohoo!